Hi, my name is Melanie English, and I will be talking about why it's time to abolish the death penalty. So, what is capital punishment? Capital punishment legally authorizes the killing of someone as punishment for a crime. The death penalty is expensive, there is room for error, and it sets a bad example rather than an attempt to prevent crime. Some of the first people to be sentenced to death in the colonies, which later became America, were witches. The best known of these trials took place in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. It all started when a West Indian slave named Tituba told girls aged 10 to 17 stories of magical spells and murder. One night, one of the girls, a minister's daughter named Elizabeth Parris, awoke from a nightmare, screaming and throwing her body around. When a doctor examined her, he concluded that she was under an evil spell. Soon after, other children began to wake up from nightmares, screaming as well, throwing tantrums, and even frothing at the mouth. They too said that they were bewitched and had evil spells cast over them. The citizens of Salem were very religious and lived by the Bible. The Bible read, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." By English law, every crime, even witchcraft, must have a trial, so therefore hearings were held. Once the trials had ended, 20 people had been sentenced to death, one of them being an 80-year-old man who was pressed to death by putting weight onto his chest. Obviously, the charges these young girls were making were false, and the judges later understood that they had made a mistake and executions should not have taken place. However, they were merely following the English law, which stands the basis of the American laws we have today. Death row is significantly more expensive than life without parole. It has costly appeals, and most evictions never occur. Not only is capital punishment a waste of taxpayer funds, but law enforcement agrees that death penalty does not deter violent crime. Instead, it reflects the tendencies for murder. The FBI discovered that states that utilize the death penalty have the highest murder rates. The death penalty does not stop crimes because perpetrators rarely think of the consequences when they commit these crimes. California spends $137 million per year to maintain the death penalty system, and it has not had an execution in over 10 years. The American Civil Liberties Union believes the death penalty inherently violates the constitutional ban on cruel and unusual punishment. The state should not have the right to kill human beings, especially in a barbaric fashion. The court noted that the process of the death penalty is harsh, freakish, and arbitrary, and constitutionally unacceptable. Capital punishment denies liberties and does not correlate with our democratic system. With the death penalty comes the possibility of error. Many innocent people have been sentenced to death. In 1973, over 156 people have been released from death rows from 26 states because of innocence. Nationally, at least one person is exonerated for every 10 that are executed. Death penalty advocates like to argue that putting a convicted murderer to death would give the victim's friends and family closure, as if placing another body in the ground would lessen the loss of losing a loved one. However, the lengthy delays and expensive appeals result in decades before the execution happens at all. A person or family will have to wait for years on end. Research by University of Minnesota found co-victims' reactions to capital punishment. The study concluded that the victims' families felt an emptiness when the execution did not bring back the victim, and more often than not, families of murder victims do not experience the relief that they expected to feel at the execution. Taking a life doesn't fill the void, but it's not until after the execution that a family recognizes this. Lengthy trials, hearings, and increased publicity bring back traumatic memories. It is the process, not the event, that heals mourning. Capital punishment is arbitrary. Trials and appeals cost more than housing an offender in prison for life. The death penalty does not deter violent crime, and more than 400 people on death row fosters an endless cycle by showing that killing is the solution to a killing problem. It's archaic, costly, ineffective, and most importantly, unjust. Lastly, the death penalty practice does not send the right message across. Why kill someone who has murdered another to show that killing is wrong? The death penalty is immoral, ineffective, and filled with flaws, and that's why I believe the death penalty should be abolished. Thank you.